right here, people. All right. Let's get. First things first. First steps first. Well, I've already done the first step, which is getting started on the painting. That step started last night. I did this. Doing this painting at a wedding. As you can tell, this is a wedding. Or hopefully you could tell it's a wedding. Of course you can. But anyway, so the first step is to actually get started. But let's see, where we're at right now is, I know there's popular TikTokers that, do over the course of one evening, they finish entire paintings. But I have a build-up process. I usually take a little bit more time to finish my paintings. Actually, you know what? I gotta set locks on my easel here. I think this is a good spot, so I'm gonna lock my easel. So it'll be the first time I get to use my H-frame easel that I just bought. So first step with this is locking in my easel. Let me see. Where's the locks on the squeal here? So I just got this in from Amazon the other day. If you watched that live stream, it took about 3 hours to set up this easel here. And let's see, what do I want to do really? First step. Oh yeah, I got to get my references. Let me get some gloves on. So many things to do. It's a fresh new day, but this is a really interesting project because there's so much that I want to change in this painting. What's up, Omizu? So there's so much that I want to change in this painting because over the course of the night, I started the painting off at the beginning of the day, at the beginning of the wedding during a photo shoot, and by the end of the night, there were all these things that I wanted to modify. But I have to really pick and choose because I can't modify them all right now because the painting's still wet and sticky. So I have to really kind of pick my battles as far as, what I want to update for now. And honestly, I don't even know if I can paint on this right now because the paint's luke dry. And what I mean by luke dry is I will be able to paint. I'm going to force myself to it. But what I mean by luke dry is that it's at a point, this painting is at a point where if I try to work it right now, it's gonna be sticky. There's gonna be stickiness to it. I want to raise this up a little bit. There's a stickiness to it, which kind of forces the easel to stick. So raise this up a little bit. There you go. Nice and easy. There's a little lock underneath. This is very good. And it forces the easel to stick a little bit when you're painting, which means it's not like the smoothest brushwork that you'll get, which can be a problem. So I'm gonna have to pick and choose my battles as far as this painting goes, and we're painting on linen. So linen's a little bit different in that, it just feels smoother when you're putting it on. Linen is some of the most ideal stuff that you can use for an oil painting, but or surfaces. As far as if you're going for some of the most high quality materials, you definitely want to aim for linen. But I got to get my references up, so it's going to take a second here. Setup takes sometimes setting up can take a few moments as you get your references together. This is a new set of references. I'm actually going to change a couple of things. So this will be an interesting one. I got to spray down my space here so that my cats don't invade. I have a concoction of vinegar and lemon orange peel so that I my cats don't come around my oil paintings. And let's see, let's download these photos and get them up in our references. But why am I even sharing this process? Why didn't I do all this before we got started? You know, I like to share all of the process in terms of getting as far as like, you know, the creative process goes, and that includes everything, you know, set up to not leaving any steps, you know. It's really hard to download photos on Instagram. Why won't they let me download the photos? Save images. Save images. It's not as easy as like 1, 2, 3. Save images. Save images. So I have about 15 reference photos. That I need to utilize. And here's a funny, by the way, for those of you on my Amazon Live, I'm going to share something right now. If you're on my Amazon Live, one thing I do as part of my streams, I shared my, that I might do on YouTube, that might be weird for you if you're watching my Amazon Live. Because we know if you're streaming on Amazon, the expectation is, oh, we're talking about like how good our life is, how like, you know, wonderful this product will be for you, how amazing this fits into the lifestyle, how wonderful like having this product will change my life. So I know like that's kind of like the ideal Amazon live streamer, but that's not really what I do. That's not how I built my my live streaming brand on YouTube. So what I'm about to share may come as a little unusual, but what I want to share is self-doubt. Like, you know, artists have like doubts on things, right? It's really weird how these little doubts can like poke into your head and kind of like make you feel a certain way, right? And sometimes, you know, they're warranted. Sometimes like you look at something like, oh, well, this is bad, you know, maybe I need to work on drawing, or maybe I need to work on something. And that's like a technical thing. But then there's like these irrational self-doubts, these irrational, really irrational personal like doubts. And here it is. Here's something incredibly irrational, dumb that I was thinking of yesterday. So yesterday I was painting, right? Anyone who's ever painted knows how paint can get on, like once it gets onto a hand, it gets onto a shirt, it gets onto a coffee table, and somehow it moves across the apartment or your house without even trying. So I paint in a suit. I have a suit specifically for painting. And yesterday I was worried, I was insecure, not like, you know, scared or anything, but just like for a moment when people were coming to look at the painting, I was a little bit like insecure about how messy I was getting as far as the painting goes. Isn't that ridiculous? So obviously a painter is going to get paint on themselves, but I was like, oh, what if people think I'm like a messy, this you know, this guy with all this paint all over him, and he's messy and just like whatever. So but this is while I was painting. I understand, like, you know, if you're out and about doing something and, you know, people wonder why you have paint all over you. That makes sense. And I still go out with paint on myself. But more importantly, especially while you're doing the activity, I think it's a funny thing, right? It's kind of like, it's really absurd. And I feel like as an artist, as a creative person, as someone who's been painting for only about a little over like 1,000, maybe almost 1,500 hours now. I just want to say that, you know, and that's just physical painting, but I want to say that when I recognize these like weird little doubts in myself, it's really helpful. It's really helpful to know and be able to label something such as that. And you know, actually, did it like affect my ability to paint? No. But you know, just being around people who are dressed really nice in their finest gowns, and they're around like this beautiful, beautiful wedding space, and then I just have all this paint all over me. It's like, you know, but then it's like irrational because you know people are people. They're smart enough to know that, you know, if you're painting, that you probably would have paint all over you, right? So just a funny little observation, right? But like I think these like little things, as an artist, right? These little things, these little like irrational ideas can definitely manifest. Can manifest in all sorts of ways. And sometimes, like I can actually imagine, there's an artist out there that's like, you know, that everything, their clothes, everything has to be absolutely like perfect, and that's cool if that's, you know, that's who they are. But I also feel that if you are painting and you feel like you can't get paint on you in front of people, that might be a little bit of an irrational. So that's my opinion, but you know, good thing I live in America. I'm allowed to share my opinions. So here we go. But I do realize that the internet is very, very, very widespread. Not everybody on the internet is allowed to have an opinion because it is all around the world. And that's a little sarcasm. I post online a lot. And when you post online, you really start to see people who don't like hearing opinions. And and yeah, well anyway, here we go. I'm trying to get my references up. That's what's taking so long right now. For whatever reason, my computer is not giving me an easy time with them. Here we go. All right. All right, let's zone in on our first reference here. I want to zone in on my very first reference. I've got my first reference here. And this little section right here, now that I'm looking at this, like I'm trying to just like analyze which areas kind of look a little funky. Which areas look okay. That's another challenge when you're painting with like a lot of different references is, you know, some of the things can start to kind of like merge together. But here we go. All right, enough talking. Let's get some painting. Look at that. Painting doesn't always take this long to get started. 15 minutes. Michael says, give them flattery, they will love you forever. Give them the truth, and they will hate you. Remember to like and subscribe. Needs cast lighting, more shade. You know what? They live in a perfect world. A perfect world. Therefore, there will be no cast shading. Let me get some of my paints. Look, I have a nice little space for paints now. Let me throw away some of these rags from last night. Still setting up here. I'm getting used to this. It takes a little while to get into using a new easel. Throw away some of my supplies from the other day. Feels so weird not having my regular easel set up. I'm gonna have to get more organized with my stuff because I do have like a little section here that I can actually put all my things, but the thing about this easel is I have to change up the way I've been painting by reorganizing. So I have to use the space to my side now. All right, let's see what we can do here. So these supplies right in here. Let's get rid of some of these gloves. So many gloves. So many gloves. All right, just trying to maximize my space. Have to change things up a little bit. Who's excited to actually see some painting finally? Here we go. All right, almost there. Almost there, folks. I'm really gonna have to get used to painting with this like setup here. All right, so throw a couple big paint stuff in there to get my easel. Here we go, my handy dandy. This is like an absolute must-have. This is a sealable palette, Masterson sealable palette. What's up, Avera Zoo? Hello, Avera Z009. Thank you for tuning in. Okay, let me see. What should I work on now? Let me think. We're gonna go. What do I think looks like it really needs a lot of work? I think that these two buildings. You know, let's tighten up some areas. So I'm going to use a larger brush. Some areas that I want to tighten up here. Excuse me, so I just got this easel last night, 2 nights ago. I just set it up, haven't even used it yet. And there's some getting used to as far as my space is concerned. So I'm trying to, figure that out right now. I thought, I'm so used to just jumping into painting. I pretty much rarely ever have to reorganize. But now I do, so. That's what we're doing. We're reorganizing our space here, which means I have to keep my brushes together, my paints together. All right, let's see. All right, let's get started. What's a good brush for this? Honestly, it almost feels like I have to redo this entire thing. because I'm gonna fix this area up here, and I'm gonna fix some of the space. So I'm gonna, work on this area right here. Really smooth this out and make it consistent. And I can already see that there's some dry paint. I probably have to like suck it up. The thing about oil paint is like with oil paint, I want to paint every day. If I'm working on painting, I'd love to paint every day. But the best is when you can just let it sit and, when you can let it sit and not touch it for like 3 days, 2 to 3 days. Honestly, with as much mineral spirits as I use, if I let it sit for like 3 days, I'm pretty good. But I want to flatten out some of the colors right now. My looseness has brought out certain characteristics. And that's another thing. I didn't have my camera to like look. I didn't have my camera phone to really see what I was doing the same way that I usually do. And here we go. So just trying to flatten out some of these colors. And eventually, once this surface is dry, I'll be able to work on it a little bit better. But for now, honestly, I'm like, should I remove this thing? No, I like the buildings there. And then let's see, this building, the angle is a little bit extreme. There's a little bit too extreme of it's a bit too extreme. Oh, here's something that's up. I need to trying to think, because if I step into it, y'all can't see it, right? Like if I step into this side, so I'm trying to think of how I can work on it, and everybody can still see. Might have to work from an angle or something. Let me unlock these wheels here. Let me see how I can rotate this in a way that I think how I have it is it's a little bit at an angle, right? Usually. So Michael Wilbur and Eve Razé fighting for first and second top place as a fan. You know what's funny is this whole new fan thing just came about on YouTube. And, Michael, does it feel stressful that you've been here for so long and suddenly you're actually fighting for the top spot? Or maybe it's just per stream. Top fan per stream. That would make sense, right? It says 3 little aluminum easel with a swivel head. Yeah, the thing is this wouldn't fit. This won't fit on a swivel. This easel would not fit on a typical swivel head. So I put it at an angle. That's going to be the best I could do as far as making it so that everybody can see almost everything. But I have to make some more technical modifications now. This area is a little bit too extreme right now. This is a very extreme angle, which is inaccurate to what I'm trying to paint. So let me go with the white here. I'm going to grab some white. I'm just going to grab this white here. We're going to paint over this area. It's going to go like flat across. this is like an extreme angle. It's very cartoony, and the reason why I did this, I think, is because I'm so used to, like, you know, when you do angles, you know, you learn when you study, like when you're studying field of, oh, I'm gonna switch sides. Actually, you can switch sides now. When you're studying like perspective, something that can happen is, you know, most perspective, most modern perspective learning, I think, comes from like a cartoony, almost a cartoony perspective. So they take like extreme perspectives, and that can make things look a little funny. If that's what you're doing. So let's go like that. Let's bring this down. So this would end right about here, and then this would go across, and this, oops. Honestly, I feel like this building could be just a little bit lower. And then here, we got to raise this up just a little bit if we're going to make them both even. This also does not need to be so extreme, so that's another thing. So let's go ahead and fix this little section right here. These sections, originally when I was looking at this, I was thinking that these buildings are going diagonal, but they're not. They're really going like horizontal. Let me see. It's going to disappear into like a point. I want them to basically disappear at the same point, right? The same main horizon line, which, given the angles of these, if I can at least make these look correct, this will look okay. So I'm going to go like right here. And this will be a good spot. I'm going to paint over a lot of areas. Does that look a little better? It looks a little bit more normal, right? Yeah, and I'll probably fix this building at some point, but for now, let's go like this. I like this angular. And then we just have to modify the angles behind him. But because this building's like going back there, I have to adjust that. So let's go ahead and, yeah, we can actually bring some of this to the bottom area here. Smooth out some of the paint in here. So that was an issue I came across yesterday, was painting outdoors, and there was a lot of bugs. Or not bugs, it wasn't like mosquito infested, but there was a lot of, there were some random little bugs that did try to jump onto the canvas, which I have since wiped away. Honestly, I have no idea. I have no idea how so many. It's funny, I think Instagram or TikTok has made it so that, you know, it seems like paintings can be done in a matter of just a couple hours. And if I'm really, really loose, I can finish a painting in just a few hours. Like if I just stay really, really loose with it and I don't get too detailed. Like I could have just like finished what it was last night, but wasn't too happy. Wasn't happy with the result, right? As far as like what I feel I can achieve as far as these paintings go. But it's interesting because I go on TikTok and see these TikTok artists that do wedding paintings, and they always are able to give the illusion that they're able to finish a painting in that very specific moment. And while I believe some of them are capable, especially with acrylic, you know, and then, you know, if you use the traditional way of like transferring a design and everything, I definitely know it's possible. But it's just fascinating to me that some people are able to do that. Let's go like this. I want to wipe away. Let's go like this. We're going to go with some dark colors. Bring back some of these dark colors. Where's my ruler? I have to figure out a new way of setting up my maul stick here, because I don't want to put it on the painting. I guess I could, but there's no like stopper now. Anyway, what I want to do is I want to even out this building here. So really just build into here, build in this building color. Actually, I'd probably just do this later. Just go around him, tighten up some of this space here. And let's go. Let's see here. Well, one thing that's cool is you're going to see me start working these paintings from different angles, because I don't know what it was before about the other easel, but I could just kind of like stand in one place and not have to move around and be able to paint. But now I feel like I have to jump back and forth, and I don't think it's the size of the painting. Maybe it's just like how I used to set up. I don't know. We'll see. We'll figure it out. But right now, building up, rebuilding some of our shadow colors again. Rebuilding some of our windows. I just want to get this section to look a little better. I get these two buildings to look correct. And they're still not looking right. I think this needs to come down. Let me see. Let's see. What am I seeing? Yeah, they're still not looking right. Amisa says some people are just that good. Yes, some people really are that good. Yeah, some people can finish an amazing painting in just the course of a few hours. Not I. Is this about level? Looks all right. So what is? And I have a reference in front of me. I'm just trying to figure out what exactly needs to happen here. let's see. Bringing this brown into the windows. Have to go like this. Let's see. It's going to come even lower. I have to bring this area even lower here. I think that's a little better. All right, let's see here. So we're actually going to make a major change. We're going to make a major change with our figures. We're going to take her arm and like bring it across his neck. But before we do that, let's go ahead and just paint in this area, smooth it out. And then here's what I think we also need. All right. This. Okay. Let's go ahead and bring this next building part up right here. We're going to bring this down. Create a separation here. And I have an outdoor area right there. Here's the funny mindset shift when you're painting for yourself versus painting with a client is or painting for a client. Did I say with a client or painting for a client? I should have said painting for. Big mindset shift I feel is I mean, of course you have the element of having to, you know, paint something they want, but also bringing in it's this element of asking myself the question. I found myself having to ask the question, am I painting this because I just want to, and of course, you know, you got to communicate with your client and everything, but so this question that I found myself asking, am I painting this detail because it actually makes the painting something that the client really desires to have in it, or am I painting it because I myself as the artist really wants to add this detail? And I think that's an interesting, you know, interesting dilemma. Not a dilemma. I mean, it's just, you know, you just got to do it, right? Like, am I painting this specific detail because it needs to be there? Because what happened yesterday was I found myself painting everything except for the bride and groom, right? While I was at this event. I was painting everything except for the bride and groom. At one point, because at a certain point you gotta let the bride and groom dry. But at one point, I was just painting everything except them, and I was thinking, you know, am I painting all these areas because this is what will ultimately give it the best painting, or is it because of something else? So that was a question I had that I usually ask myself when I'm doing these paintings. But I think that goes both ways, right? There's two directions where that goes, I think. There's two directions. And where I think those two directions go, if you're being an artist, is, you know, am I painting all this extra detail because it actually adds to the painting, or do I just want to, you know, show off my ability to paint it? And I think, like, classically, yes, right, it's a big flex, like Vermeer would just, like, paint remarkable details. But that's what photography is for, right? Photography is for the details. And I'm not saying that, like, that painting shouldn't have detail, but I think there's a level of detail that, you know, the artist is doing, that an artist can do just because they want to flex their muscles, their painting, show off their painting skills, versus, you know, the thing that will give the best painting possible. And again, you know, it totally depends on what your client wants. If the client wants these ultra details, then hopefully they hired you specifically for those ultra level details, right? That's what you do. But I see, like, lots of paintings where, like, there's artists that do every single hair on a lion or a cat or something. And that is definitely a flex. That is definitely a muscle, like flexing your muscles, right? Like, hey, look, I do every single hair. And I'm not talking about Omizu's paintings, even though Omizu definitely likes to flex his incredible attention to detail muscles. But I'm talking about like people that literally paint every single animal hair. I've seen that. And Omizu is just super, because he does a Kirin, so it's not really animal hairs, but I definitely see Omizu flexing his detail muscles when he does that. Even if you say you're not. Even if you say you're not Omizu. That is a gift that you do. A gift of a talent that you have. So just a general rule, as far as perspective goes, anything that is up and down can go straight down. Anything that is horizontal, you have to actually consider the angle. So here we go. Let's see how this looks. Yeah. All right. There's definitely, you know, space there. It's definitely a building, right? You can see a building. These little rectangular holes. Omizu's not flexing. Come on, Omizu. You don't have to be modest. Like that's, you know, that's a style. That's a detail. That's like, it's why Seurat is so well known, right? Like they put so much detail. He flexed. Seurat was flexing his ability to see color. It's a flex. But if you want to deny it, that's cool. If you want to just be a humble artist, that's cool too, man. Who doesn't like a humble artist? We all love humble artists. Alright, where do I need to be right now? I need to add a little bit of highlight. Let's add just a hint of blue, just a nice light blue highlight along inside here. Just a super light blue, blending it in on top of our on top there. And then let's go trying to navigate the color of this building is gonna be a little bit challenging for me. But we're gonna go add a little some pinks. Add some pinks into this. come around like this. Come down. I just want to make sure that it's fairly straight down. See how that's as far as how it looks on camera. You're outside gardening and poking your head in once in a while. Thanks, Michael. What are you gardening, man? Tell us about your gardening situation. What's going on there? Allow me to share with the world or allow me to say to the world what you're typing about gardening. All right, so let's see. So this building's looking okay. Of course, you know, we're gonna go multiple layers. I think as far as our perspective goes, we're a bit more accurate now. What I've got to build here now is I need to build out the same thing but there. So let's get the same color here. I'm gonna go for this like ochre-y, white ochre, this white ochre mix color that we got. And we want to build this out. So this is a funny thing. It's like a stand. It's like a pillar. So it's gonna look really unusual. If I don't do this right, it's gonna look really unusual because it's like a pillar, like a rectangular column that doesn't really belong to part of the building. But it is a pillar. It's a pillar of the community. Here we go, we gotta change sides now. And let's make this rectangular, so this, go across. And then we're going to come down again, grab some more of this color, and pretty much come down and come across. And then I think, let's see, about the same width as one of these windows, right past here, we're going to come down. Boom. Go straight down. Grab some more of this yellow ochre. Blend in our white, and oh wow, all right, so I kind of messed up because that is actually not how it looks. Let's actually go on this side here and bring this down into the top of the head. Right to the top of our man's head, of the groom's head right here. Alexa, what is a yarmulke called during a wedding for the groom?
I don't have an answer for that.
If anybody is familiar with Jewish tradition, there's a name for this, but it's different at a wedding, I think, right? Like, I know it's a yarmulke, but there's a specific name. It's called something specific, I think, during a wedding. Or maybe it's just a different word that's interchangeable. But if anybody knows, feel free to correct me and show me who knows stuff. This is going to come down right on top of his head. We're going to get another angle, like right around here, right around his going here. Get this color. It's a good color for all this. Extra Azraya, what's up? How am I doing today? Omizu's at work on a holiday. Yeah, extra cash, dude. Omizu's making that extra cash. That's great. Omizu just wants to be painting. He doesn't want cash. He doesn't even care about the money. He just wants to paint, right? But he has to have the money. Mizu has to have the money. We all have to have the money, right? It's all about the money. All about the money. You know, I think Omizu. I realized something. It's like, you know, painting is like the only thing that I've really ever felt. And, you know, this might change, right? At some point, you know, my paintings might start selling for who knows how much money and all those things or whatever. But what I wanted to say was, like, painting is definitely one of the only things that I've ever done that, like, I felt like I wasn't trying to, like, chase like a, you know, like a financial outcome. Not that I don't ever do that. I definitely, you know, go for a financial outcome when I paint, but it's the first thing where I felt like that's like not the main thing, right? Like any job I've ever had has always only been for the money. And of course, like exercise. When I first started exercising, you know, I always thought it could be a career, like as a personal trainer. I always thought that was possible. You know what? I can't say that. I don't know if that's true. If this is the only thing I've done that is not felt like it's just for the money. What's up, Azrai? How are you doing? Here we go. I think we need this white going across here. We're gonna go blue. Honestly, I might even want to lower this a little bit. Just this little area, these areas of green, I really have to tighten up. But wow, Omizu's been working for 11 hours. Omizu could be flexing, yeah. And then Omizu's gonna go take a nap, and then are you gonna be able to paint later, Omizu? Is that Is that part of your night's activities or your day's activities? Is being able to paint later? Let's tighten this up here. Right, we're gonna go kind of like really modify these perspectives here. Let's go like this. This is why it can be very challenging to be indecisive as an artist, is the very thing that I'm working on right now. I'm not saying that I'm being indecisive, but like, you know, I think painting is really just comes down to lots and lots of decision making. That's all painting really is just lots and lots of decision making. And if you're indecisive, like, you know, it's like, at the end of the day, it really, I mean, it's kind of true, right? Like, where am I going to put this paint? What color should I use here? How should I design this section? What would be the best way to, you know, show this? Nap, you'll be up until midnight because you have to be back. Oh! Well, Mizu, man. The things you do in your life just so you can have the opportunity to paint. My goodness. Right? That's all like, that's all you work for, right? Is so that you can paint. Is that accurate? I don't know. I'm making stuff up. Don't let me put, Mizu, don't let me put, speak for your hopes and dreams. You know what they are. I'm just chatting away. You know, I feel like the biggest problem that that Vincent van Gogh had was that he supposedly he didn't have a likable personality. That Van Gogh guy, he didn't have a likable personality. And I feel like if he did have a likable personality, he might have sold more paintings. The world will never know now. straighten this cube out. And this all looks so wacky. All this plant life here. Let's see what we can do about. Oh yeah, we gotta do this section. So let's talk about some of the supplies I'm using, since I am live streaming. I realized that streaming on two totally different platforms. I stream on Amazon Live and YouTube now, and I gotta realize that at some level I need to appeal to both audiences, right? How do I stay on brand, but also realize that why are people on Amazon? Because they either want to learn something or they want to better their lives, right? Why does anyone ever go on Amazon and buy stuff? Because they want to better their lives. They want to do something that makes them happy. They want to do an activity that will make them feel joy, aka painting. So in that same vein, I do have to realize that people go on YouTube to learn things, to be entertained, but people go on Amazon Live because they're looking for something. They're looking for something in their life. And we're gonna go. I know I'm blocking the camera, so I need to realize that I have to say some stuff about some commercial words. I have to say some things that are commercial. So what are we doing right now? I am using this is one of my favorite brush, by the way. This is a Princeton, what is this called? A Princeton Catalyst. So this is actually a synthetic brush, and it's one of my favorite brushes. One of my favorite brushes because, and I have a reason for this, it is one of my favorites because I can get brushed effects, and it's really good at picking up a lot of paint, which is, if you paint really thick like I do, that's very good. If you paint very thick like I do, it's good. And then at the same time, I'm realizing these two are not the same height, which makes it look a little weird. But it's okay. We can adjust that later. But, when you paint really thick, you want a paintbrush that can pick up a lot of paint and hold on to it. And you can tell the difference. Like, if paint doesn't pick up a lot of paint, or if it's like too gentle, like if you're using it for like the last layer of paint or mainly for like glazing and stuff, you can notice. You notice there's a huge difference. There's a huge difference in how the paint comes off of a brush. And I want to say, as far as brands that I can buy in store and on Amazon, my other favorite brand is Rosemary Co. They make, some of the industry, is like painting even an industry. I was about to say industry standard, but I'm using that as not as if it's a real thing, but just, it's like a standard. They set the bar. Rosemary Co. sets a bar for brushes. And, out of all the stores, out of all the stuff I've randomly bought, like online, out of all the products, paintbrushes and stuff that I bought online, I will say that Rosemary Co. Or this Princeton brush, the Princeton Catalyst brush, is probably one of my favorites that's not Rosemary Co. Because Rosemary Co. makes some really good brushes. They're just... Rosemary Co makes some great brushes, but this Princeton Catalyst is amazing too. I love it. I love the Princeton Catalyst brush. Let's see if we could tighten up some of these plants in the front here. If we could do that, we might do pretty well. So let's grab a nice yellow. Start with a nice green. We're gonna go around the edges here. So let's pick a plant that we want to use as our main reference plant. Go like this. Need to get a deeper yellow. So bring out our cad yellow again. Should grab a nice chunk of this. And we're using a Winsor and Newton Winton color oil for this plant. It's a cad yellow. And pretty much going to use it straight from the tube to define some of these areas here, some of these plants. Find a space around these plants, and then we're going to come like this. The hardest thing about painting in person, by the way, people, especially for a wedding, is it's not the painting itself, right? If you know how to paint, if you've painted even like 100, 200 hours, if you've painted for at least 200 hours, and you actually studied and practiced and all that, and you're ready for the style. If you've painted at least 200 hours, then you can paint in person. But painting in person, the hardest thing about it, the scariest thing, is people seeing your painting in the ugly face. That's it. That's like, if you can get over that, because if you can get over people seeing your painting in the ugly phase of it, and ideally there's no such thing as an ugly phase. Ideally you're so good that you don't even have what people might even consider an ugly phase. That'd be great, but with every painting, if you can overcome that, I think most people will do pretty well. But it's probably the scariest thing, right? It is probably the scariest thing for most people. It's just like, because the thing about oil is you can just build and build and build. That's why I love oil painting. Is with oil painting, you can just build colors indefinitely. Like I do have, because somebody is expecting this painting in a reasonable amount of time. I don't technically have forever, but with oil painting, technically speaking, there is a point you can paint over and over and over again. And of course there's a point like in a painting where you're like, oh, okay, well, I could do a whole new one which is different, but as far as like if you have your main composition, you have your main ideas, you know, you can just pretty much work and rework and just like paint over things over and over again, so you get what you want. Alright, so I don't want to make them all yellow. Some of them have like these deep blues and greens. I want to paint them all yellow. But see, I'm just using this like one brush. I just love this brush, the Princeton Catalyst brush. Thank you, Princeton, for making this brush. Thank you, Princeton. Is it even like real Princeton, or is it just like? Let's see. Just comfortable painting in front of people. You enjoy the conversation, the questions they ask. Like, how you been painting? Your response? Oh, about 50. Oh, Mizu. I mean, Michael. Michael with the one-liner. Or the two-liners. But see, isn't that good? You could tell. Oh, here's a funny thought. It's not really that funny, but here's an amusing thought. How to tell if someone is an introvert or an extrovert based on their joke. And here's you know, this is like the water is half full or half empty. Like this is like, how can you tell if someone's an introvert or an extrovert based on their joke? Is whether their joke includes a conversation with someone. Like, so if someone says a joke and it's like, what did the bartender, Alexa, I didn't say your name. If someone's like, oh, what did the bartender go and say to the Pope? Like holy water. I don't know. But anyways, what did the bartender or say to the Pope? But so that's an interaction, right? That can make someone an extrovert. But what would make them an introvert is if they have a joke, but it doesn't actually interact with someone. So like maybe knock knock, who's there? But it's like a one-liner. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm probably totally wrong. I just make stuff up as I'm going here. But y'all see where I'm going with this, right? You can hear where I'm going with this. You get it. All right, so we've got some of the base color of these yellows. Let's find some nice shapes for these yellows here. And ooh, look at that shape. Ooh, I love this line here. I'm gonna get a nice little line. Get that nice little line just protruding out. And let's see here. What are we gonna do? Let's grab a nice deep green. I want a nice deep green. Where's my paints? Oh, they're in my easel. Ah, all of my paints are in my easel. We get our nice permanent green here. I want to find a nice deep green, so I'm going to take a green and mix it with our Prussian blue. Well, that's going to make it a little too blue. Add some yellow into this, and there we go. That's a good green. All right, and we're gonna get some nice deep colors into this here. So the goal is to just get some nice shadow green here. I need to figure out how to make this look more natural. Let's see, we're gonna come down like this. And then let's go for a lighter green on this one, or just a hint lighter. Can't all be this super bright green, right? Let's do the same thing for the other side here. Just gonna find this separation. We need a green that like separates our colors. There we go. That's a really nice deep green. It's a lot of paint compared to the other areas, so we have to figure out how to make them all pretty much the same. Bring down a lot of paint. That's common sense, right? I also think this area dried a little bit better than the rest. And here we go. Just bring this down. Get a nice dark green right into here. So we're going to come around. Actually, some of these leaves, no, all of the leaves have an outer edge that is yellow, right? Yeah, they all have yellow outer edges. So knowing that, I can choose how I want to build these up here. I'm going to fill this bottom part, make this bottom part green. Fill it down right there. And you know what can make it feel more natural? I'll get into that in a few moments. But you know, you just like, I think when it comes to painting, it's just looking at something long enough to find the details. You know, just find the details that make something. Which is why, like caricature artists, my goodness, caricature artists. I think it's worthwhile to learn caricature art because. You know, I think like traditional art, it's taught in this way where it's like, oh, you know, learn how to measure the proportion of the face and the eyes and like, you know where the chin falls on the face and like how the mouth sits above, below the nose and like all these things. I'm trying to think of another nice shape that would kind of just like fit right here. I'm gonna put a shape just to have it sticking out. How's that? What was I saying? Oh yeah, so most people when they think of like, you know, when you study like faces and everything on regular paintings, you know, you spend so much time learning like proportions and like, you know, maybe anatomy or whatever. But I think one real good way to study faces is just learning caricature. Because like with caricature, you know, you got to learn to see the essence of somebody real quick. And yes, like, you know, in caricature you're making fun of them. And you know, they're paying for it, so it's all in good jest. But the thing about caricatures, you have to like really learn the essence of somebody, right? Like what makes somebody some unique, right? What makes somebody who they are? And I tried to apply for a caricature drawing job. I didn't get it. Honestly, I feel like my caricatures are too artsy and not charactery enough. Like, so that's why I really think I did get the job. But because it was stylized, like there's a style for caricature. I just don't have it. But at the end of the day, when you're doing caricature, you know, some of the most important things is just how do you quickly, you know, in a street situation when you're painting out on the street, how do you quickly capture the essence of someone, right? How do you quickly figure out what makes somebody someone that can, because everything's changing, right? You're not keeping the same body proportion. You're not worried about proportions and all that with caricature. I mean, you might, but what you're really doing is trying to find the specific feature of somebody that that makes them them, and that can be really difficult if you don't know how to observe. And I think that's a really great ability for artists, is to know caricature. But probably not necessary, you know, all depends on what you want to do. So here we go. All right, so we see some interesting plant life, right? Did you paint that? Oh, Misa says, did you paint that? I have no clue what that's missing. My mind is like 20 minutes upstream, downstream. If ever I could actually keep track of exactly what the conversation was in my live streams, that would be great, but maybe one day. Making a nice deep green in here. Mixing a nice deep green. Where was I? What was I talking about? I don't even remember. Alright, and now we can actually throw some reds into this. Let's lay down the rest of this color. Boom, boom, boom. Lay down all this paint, get rid of it. No reason to waste paint, right? Get it onto the canvas. Get your paint onto the canvas. You know what we could do? We could... here we go. Let's add some lines here. Let's go... Add some beautiful lines going around. We'll do the same with this side too. Let's go like this. And you know, I in my head right now, I'm thinking I should have a moment of gratitude. I need a moment of gratitude right now. Who feels like that they can find something right now that they're grateful for? Everyone should be able to. Right now is a good time for gratitude moments. I feel like I need one. Even some brush work into the painting. Let's clean this brush off. Who has something they're grateful for? I think everybody has something that they're grateful for, right? If you don't, why not? Everybody's got something to be grateful for. I guarantee it. Alright, so let's find some of these purple lines. We're just going to go into adding in some purple here. And here we go. Why is there some purple? Because I see some purple. I'm observing. I'm learning the essence of this plant, which comes with both yellows, purples, and reds. And you know what? Nature is absolutely beautiful. Nature is amazing. You can learn so much about color and everything just from just looking at nature. Although, you know, the one problem with painting nature for me is I usually add too much green, and it just like I could get into that trap of just having too much green. Just adding too much green into a painting. All right, and you know, you can see right now, like all this green is just creating like this concoction, this unusual space of green. Just like looks very blocky. So I will have to modify that, but for now, I think we're at least, you know, moving moving in the right direction here. Okay, so we've got this a little foreground action, which can really help to, you know, establish what's going on in the rest of this. I gotta. What's up, dude? Huh? Hey. Hey, big guy. Sleepy? Talking to my cat. I like to have deep conversations with my cat. It's very rewarding, very, very rewarding to have a deep conversation with a cat. Because you never know what can come up, right? Cats have a lot to say. They know more about your apartment than you do. They know about the dirt, the lint that's on your clothes. They know about how many spiders you have under the couch. They know that their 20 favorite toys are all under the same couch, and then they wonder, like, how come you don't do anything to clean it up? Cats are amazing. I love cats. We need more cats in the world. Yes, that's right. More cats. More. We need just like more cats just roaming the streets. Well, I don't know. Actually, that's not true, because that would just mean there's more stray cats. Which, you know, if you really like cats, you want stray cats. You wanna keep all the cats to yourself. If you're a real cat lover. All right, let's fix this section here. I need to establish this section. I think that's a little better. This building here. And then we're going to have the second section right here. What needs to be worked on? Let's go like this, and we're going to go across here. Much about the same height. You know, are these two the same buildings? They're different buildings. Not the same. I wish I could see these buildings right now, because I think they're different. They're like the same design, but they're also different. They're not, actually, you know what? They're not the same design. Oh, those are almost the exact same height. These two need to be about the same height right here. Let's go ahead and bring this up. Might as well just make them the same building, right? Let's go like this. We're gonna come down right here. Alexa, what time is it?
The time is 4:39 p.m.
This is going to be kind of flat. Is that angle pretty close? No. We're going to bring the angle right about there. We're going to bring this right about here. Let's get this perspective line here. Almost the same building, but they're not. And this one is actually going to come down this time. Let's start adding in some glass. Start to like fill these spaces in here. Right here. I go in with our blue for the glass. Right there. Flowers are going to be easy. I don't want to spend too much time on flowers. This section though. This will be the biggest challenge for me is making this part feel more natural. I spend a lot of time drawing people. I don't really draw buildings very often. People and things, but not buildings. People and objects. I don't draw too many buildings. Does it show? I think we're getting somewhere as far as the overall design goes. This right about there. I'm going to cut this across. I love painting for people who are art lovers. And not just like, you know, people who like realist art, but like, you know, people who are art lovers, right? I think like art lovers. I mean, is there a difference between people who only like realist art versus all different types of art? But, you know, I think it's amazing to paint for people that like, you know, when they see art, there's like more to it than just the visual accuracy compared to a photo. So we're gonna come down here. All right. Let's get down like this. Okay. Let's go ahead and bring in these shadows again. Get some more of the shadow color. And we're gonna go same thing like right up here. Let's go. Like so. What if we start to add some shadows? What should we do right now? If I could tighten this up, this space, I would be okay. You know what I should do? Let me see. I'm gonna go bring out some plants. I'm gonna bring some plants out. Let's bring some of these plants out. Add some more variety here. Let's add some shadow into this just to create some roundness. I'll try to find some shadow in these plant areas so that we can start adding some dimension into them. And let's go right here. Alexa, what time is it?
It's 4:48 p.m.
Let me see what I can do right now. About modifying our figures' faces. So, let me see, I'm going to get a smaller brush here. This brush might not work. Let's see. Let's increase the size of this. And increase the size of this headwear. And we're going to go, let's see. How far does it go up on his head? This. And let's keep this going. We'll clean up this white. Round this out a little bit more. Where can we use this white? Let's see. Oh yeah, we could probably bring this in around her head here. Do. down for a little bit. Here's another big issue. So she's definitely, I mean, she's in heels, but she's definitely a little shorter than he is, as far as, you know, as far as the reference is concerned. So that's something I'm gonna have to modify. I'm gonna have to change her height quite a bit. I gotta cut off about a whole like ½ inch around the top of her head. Gotta cut it down to like right. This area of her head should start at her forehead, so. And her head will have to move down a bit. Maybe even further, my goodness. And let's see. I'm gonna bring her height down a little bit, maybe even a little bit further. Need a better brush for this. As far as the head height goes, this is about right. And I just have to modify it in relation to his body. Right now, I'm carving away at the face. It's carving away at the face. Actually painting over it now. I'm gonna see if I have a good brush to pull away at some of the face area. Maybe this one might be pretty good actually. Need to pull away at some of these ears, the ear here. And then that. See how we can bring this blue in this little corner. Need a sharper brush. Nice sharp brush here. Just need to carve this blue into here. And let me grab a nice grab this brush, go with the Rosemary Co. I'm gonna find a way to round out the top of her forehead and round his out as well. Okay. And here we go. Let's get this perfect. It's one of those things that once I, get the shapes around the heads right, I can. It's not going to be the right brush. Let's try this one. I think I'm blocking, huh? Till I'm not, when I stop talking, that's when I'm in deep focus. I guess I should always be in deep focus, right? Because sometimes things just like, flow really easily, and then some things are just like absolutely critical for the painting to succeed. I think that's when I usually get quiet around that time. Go. I'm trying to find the shapes of the face now. go. That brush is a little too soft, too delicate. I need this brush. Start to build the color back in, top of this layer. Okay, now let's try to clean up. If I can, I'm gonna clean up around the hair, because that'll really help to clarify some of the shape of the figure here. You can actually probably bring this in, right? Can we paint this today? Let's go with that. That needs to be like a silver yellow. Let's pull out our gray. Oh, you know what? I think I have one. There we go. Got a good color for this. Try to make more sense of this area. So the catch with what I'm painting is I had to take multiple. I'm working from various, very different reference photos. So the way I have to work now. Because if I was just, if the reference photo was perfect, and this isn't unique to how I paint. This, there's plenty of people that would do it this way. Doing like a one simple reference photo, and then building all the stuff around it. It's not specifically unique to me. But just sharing, how I usually paint is much more brusque and loose. Whereas for this, I have to tone it down a bit. Tone down the brusqueness, or the quicker looseness. Still bring back the dark hair. see. Shape of the head here. Just the major part of it. Let's go. Right around here should be good. And eventually I'm gonna have to cover this hair up again anyway because of the headdress. I don't know what it's actually called. The thing that the veil, because of the veil. I know what it's called. Beautiful, beautiful veil. And let's go up with this green here. I'm going to go add some highlights of green and yellow. Let's do that. Come around the hair here. Come around and just paint into here. Yeah, we could probably do this for now too. You know what? I don't want to touch the faces anymore too much more right now. So let's go ahead and build up some of our area around here. And this, you know, I can get pretty loose on this part, but let's see, we're gonna go into here. Actually, you know what, this is not the right reference photo. This space, we're just gonna build up some plant life. And then in this space, also gonna build up some plant life. Made green look nice. I think that's something that Vincent van Gogh taught us. You know, he taught the world how to make green look interesting. Like if you just, I could just like, you know, it'd be almost impossible to like, just paint this all just like this all this variety of nature in like in an interesting way. And also in like a totally realist fashion where all the details are like laid out for you. I think there has to be some combination of like playing with colors and stuff. We go like this. I'm gonna grab some more purples here. I'm gonna go with like some deep purples. We're gonna have some nice purples up here. Let's see, where's my big purple reference? Okay, we're gonna have some purple coming around this way. Let's see, I'm trying to think if I should have some purple covering with bride and groom. Maybe not. Maybe we're gonna have some purple like right here. Just bringing down the small shadow. And we're gonna have some purple right here. Let's grab some more of that. I think they're in like groups of like 3. Yeah, these plants kind of came in groups of 3, so let's do that. All right, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now we're gonna have a couple in the background. I mean, these are all scattered all over. There's just so many of these. Let's go another one. We're gonna go do a nice big one right here. Nice big one, just bringing in the purple area. And really the goal right now is to just bring in dimension to this like plant life here, because it just like looks so flat, and especially this, I'm gonna have a challenge with this side for sure. No doubt this side is gonna create some challenges, but I think as long as we like build up a variety of color into these plants and create some different dimension, this will create a very interesting and beautiful little scene here. Let's capture all the wide range of colors, the reds, the purples. What might seem random. Oh, you know what? I said I was going to put a big one here, so that means I should put one big one. Find some reds here. Let's go bring some red in here, right here. Let's go bring some red right here. And we're gonna bring in a red purple, this pink color. Let's just lay it down nice and thick here. And as I'm painting this, you know, as I'm thinking, how am I liking the new easel? Oh yeah, hey, yes, this is one of those, Omizu. So as I'm painting this, the new easel is great. It's not as like it's not as efficient, but I do like the sturdiness. It's not as efficient, but I like the sturdiness of it. You know, let's bring in some white and bring in some highlights. And we're going to bring in some highlights here. And here's the challenges. I don't necessarily, you know, one of the issues is I don't want to, you know, here's the dilemma that I have. So, you know, earlier I was talking about like when you're painting for people as opposed to just painting on your own accord. You know, it's definitely, there's a point when there's like a fine line between when you're deciding whether you're painting and doing things because you want to do it or whether it is like, you know, the best for the aesthetic of the painting. So as I'm painting these flowers, I have to ask myself, like, you know, is this really the best way to paint these flowers? Does it contribute to the overall painting, or is this just like, you know, me being expressive? But good to know, you know, the type of art that your client wants, right? So this one's a little too crazy. It's kind of distracting. It looks like a makes me think of like what's that vegetable that has like the fruit in the center, or the big heart in the center? I forget what it's called. Not an avocado. It starts with an A. It's not asparagus, not avocado, not what is it? Asparagus, avocado, artichoke. Yeah, it's not an artichoke. Kind of reminds me of an artichoke right now. Let's get some of these flowers into the background here. So we're gonna get some golden flowers. Let's see. Let's get a combination of flowers here. We got some purples in the front, and we're gonna get some all the way toward the back here. So we're gonna come up like this. That's a really thick one. And this one is also going to have a couple right there, right there, right there. So as we start to build up these colors, I think it'll start to feel more natural, and we could create the illusion that this isn't just like straight horizontal vertical lines. That's the goal here. So here we go. We're going to go like out here, and then we're going to leave 2 or 3. You know, create this illusion of dimension. And let's go with some pinks. Right? That's what painting is. That's what all painting is. That's how my some of my mentors often describe painting was, you know, you're making an illusion. You're giving people, you know, that's what realism painting is, right? It's just all illusions. Giving this sense of 3D. You can't make a 3D object on a 2D surface. But you can give the illusion. You give the illusion that it's 3D. So let's go like this. All right, let's find some more pink. I need to grab my, no, I should just grab this red and mix it in with our white to find our pink here. Let's grab some white. Alexa, what time is it?
It's 5:32 p.m.
It's 5:32. We get out and about by 7. We get ready by 6. Which means I'm almost we're almost gonna wrap here for the night. I'm gonna go join some festivities. Some evening festivities. All right, here we go. We're gonna add some. Let's add some one that comes around here, and then I'll have to modify that. What's this little flower right there? We're gonna go bring these all the way up. It's like an apple tree. Okay. So then we're gonna add a little. We're just gonna add little pops of red. There's like these little pops of red. Let's do them in groups. That's one thing that I learned from studying Vincent van Gogh's work is, you know, do things in groups. I'm not liking that red there, but do things in groups. When you decorate, you know, it kind of creates this like cohesion. You do things in groups rather than like, and then you can also get into like a rhythm, you know. Do things in groups, make some shapes out of things. There we go, let's create one. Trying to find a good. I feel like I need one more. How should I do this? No, I don't need any up front like this. No, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna leave these big ones as the key ones. Why do I keep saying you know what? Because I don't know what. I'm still figuring that out. Let's see. I think I need some bigger ones here. We need some mid-sized ones. So I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna go out here and do a mid-sized one to create this dimension. It's all starting to come together. All right, so this is getting a little better. I still am not sure how I'm going to manage this section. We'll figure that out as we go. We'll have to figure that out. I mean, we have to figure it out. So, but at least we are starting to see some progress as far as reducing the flatness of just these little sections here. It's reducing the sections of these little flat areas. And you know what? I need some that are kind of like clumped together. Otherwise, it's like too many rules of three. You know, too much rule of thirds can create some issues. So let's actually make some smaller flowers popping out into the side here. I'm gonna go. Now this is, I mean, yeah, I'm looking at my reference if I'm, doing this, but this is less about copying exactly the reference as much as it is, just trying to find like a good visual look. I think that's what Bob Ross gave us, right? Bob Ross gave us the confidence if you watch enough Bob Ross, you'll see that Bob Ross gave us the confidence to decorate. The confidence to look at a space, a natural space, and be like, hey, I don't have to paint every single flower exactly as the flower appears, right? I don't have to do that. There's a balance that can be made between, using the beauty of a painting, the fact that this is a painting, capturing that beauty, while also capturing the natural beauty of just like having lots and lots of flowers versus capturing the beauty of nature, right? What we're going to ultimately do with all of these, flowers is what we're ultimately going to do with a lot of these flowers is pretty much just like, excuse me, sorry, I lost my train of thought. I have no clue what I was about to say. What were we going to do about the flowers? I don't know. Just build the color, I guess. I forgot what I was going to say. That happens a lot on my live streams. You know what? I think if I ever truly get like a real case of dementia, I'll be fine. Because I'm okay with like forgetting the things that I'm about to say 10 seconds later. As long as I could paint, right? Like, I don't know. I don't want to talk about dementia so lightly, but it's a horrible thing. But if since we're on the subject and I already brought it up, and someone's probably thinking, why can't Emmett say a full sentence without forgetting what he's about to say? If someone's making fun of me for that, You know, I'm just trying to think of like the bright side. What if it is happening? I don't know. It's probably not, but if it does, I think art is a beautiful thing in a sense that, you know, if I'm painting this and, you know, I forget exactly what I was doing, if I have a photo in front of me and a painting in front of me, I can kind of like just make stuff up as I go and still be okay, even if I forget. Like, I could forget that I was just painting this, and again, I don't know how it actually manifests, but, you know, if I forget that I was working on this, I can always just like start working on this. You know, so maybe arts and crafts is a wonderful thing as long as you have the habits. I think as long as you have the habits, and just like have that confidence of working. All right. So these flowers are really helping out here. Oh yeah, here's what I was gonna say. So what we're ultimately gonna do with these flowers is use the stems. So we're gonna make up stems. We're gonna take stems, use a variety of stem colors, light yellows, greens, dark greens, blues, and we're going to use them in order to create the dimension that we're looking for, right? Add more interest. And here we go. Let's take a smaller brush here. Let's take a smaller brush here. And let's try to find, some. And this is like a garden here, just a beautiful little garden. You know what? I think the paint's a little too wet. I'm not going to be able to work with this paint as much as I thought I would. Let me see how this works, right? Let's go with some greens here, and we're going to go a nice thick paint right there. Now let's go with a yellow green. Just gonna change things up, you know? Let's go with a yellow green. Let's go with a yellow green here, and we're gonna go. Let's actually add a highlight to this. Always gotta add multiple colors, not just one. And we're gonna come around like this. We're gonna drag this piece down. We're just gonna drag this down right in between here. A nice thick stem. That's the one thing that's great about painting nature is like, you know, you don't have to worry about someone being like, oh, that leaf doesn't go there, or that doesn't look like that tree. That's one great thing about painting nature, and you can still make it look beautiful, right? Like, no one is ever like, oh, you painted that tree a different color than it really is. That's not what that tree looks like. And I'm talking like a landscape, right? If you're just painting one specific tree, yes, you know, someone might be like, huh, I didn't realize you were trying to paint that tree. But if you're like painting nature, that's the benefit of painting nature is, you know, you get away with a lot of stuff. Yet still make a beautiful painting. Versus, you know, if you're painting for a wedding, if you're painting for nature, if you're painting for a person, you know, there are certain things that you have to capture, like the likeness of everything. But, you know, if you're like painting roses in the background, no one's ever like, oh, that rose only has 4 petals, and a rose has multiple petals that are laid down in a swirl, and you didn't quite capture that. So, I don't know. But that's one thing fun about painting nature. have art critic, geek critics that are bothering you, that bother you about stuff. That bother you about technical stuff. Maybe there was a time when that was the case. There was probably a time when that was the case, but but hey, here's the thing. I have some festivities to get to. And let's see, we're wrapping up some things. Yeah, we're close. I'm gonna struggle with these buildings. I can't stand painting buildings. Excuse my abruptness there. Can't stand painting buildings. It's like, you know, the thing is like a building, when you're painting buildings, right? Like one thing about nature, it's natural. Like it feels, you know, there's just so much, and then it's just a series of colors, like capturing things. And you know, it's natural. It's just like the beauty of nature is just so fun to capture. But if you're trying to paint like, and you know, people are so fun to capture because everybody's so different. But buildings, like painting buildings, it almost feels like, what's the point of painting a building? Because a building was man-made or human-made, and it was designed by somebody with rulers, engineering, technical skills. I'm not, and there's architects that are wonderful, wonderful artists, and they have amazing craftsmanship, and you know, admiring the building itself. But I feel like when you're painting a building, it's like, as far as that like, it just feels like the creativity is already in the building, right? The design, the engineering, the math, the perfection of like every corner and the straight lines, and like buildings have all of those things that, you know, tools and machines are used to create. Whereas like nature is just this beautiful, like just fun thing to like express, capture, and paint, and people. So I don't like to paint buildings because I feel like it was, you know, it's just not a natural thing to paint. Not that just painting a natural thing is the only way to go, but I just don't like painting. It just feels so mechanical. Painting just feels so mechanical. I mean, not painting. Painting buildings just feels so mechanical to me. I mean, buildings in general are just like, you know, it's pretty mechanical. You use a mechanical pencil, a ruler, a technician, technology, perfect edges. But, of course, I have to paint buildings inevitably because buildings are everywhere. And I was about to make a comment and be like, you know, it would have been nice to live in like ancient Florence where people weren't painting buildings because there weren't buildings. But that is totally untrue. If you ever look at a painting from like the 1500s of like amazing and talented artists in Italy and you know, throughout the Renaissance in Italy, they paint so many buildings so wonderfully. They paint some of the greatest building sites, and there were so many buildings back then. I mean, you know, buildings are nothing new. Now, obviously, the number of buildings in certain areas might be new, but we're making progress. We still have quite a bit to go. I'm gonna totally change the way our two figures are embracing each other, and we got to fix this building. But I do feel as if it is starting to feel like more natural. It's starting to feel a bit more natural. Everything's feeling a bit more natural. All thanks to flowers. Thanks to flowers. If it wasn't for these flowers, if it was just green and like grass, I don't know. I don't know what I would do. But still got a little bit more, quite a few hours. Probably be working on this for maybe a week or maybe 2 weeks, probably. Probably 3 weeks. Maybe longer. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. It might progress faster than I think, because the biggest issues that when I was really thinking about this that I thought was going to take a long time was structure of these areas. But I feel like once you add in the plant, it adds a lot of life to the painting. And one thing that I learned from an artist mentor of mine is sometimes you don't need to give all the details to someone looking at your painting. You don't need to add every single details, right? When you paint a face, people know that it's going to be a face. When you paint a flower, people know that it's going to be a flower. You don't need to hand them everything, and sometimes it's good to let people use their imaginations to fill in the blanks. And I think the job of the artist is, depending on what you're supposed to be doing based on the job, it's really about finding, getting specific about what needs to be done, the most important things, and then the rest, figuring out how to let people use their own imaginations to capture certain areas. So still a lot of work to be done, but it's 4th of July. Happy 4th of July, everybody. Happy Independence Day. If you're not in America, happy whatever the day it is for you. But it is Independence Day, the 4th of July, which is a day of independence. So let's all go be independent, shall we? With that, take care, everybody. Great painting for all of you, and we'll be back in a little bit. Wow, look, everybody's popping into my live stream now as I'm about to finish, but here we go. Yes, so this has been a slow build up. Gonna work on these buildings next. Well, we're gonna be working on everything next, but just gotta see where we're at right now. All right, it's looking good. I like my painting. Yes. All right. Let's take care, everyone. Thank you for being here. Oh yeah, let's talk about some of the things before I wrap up. This is an amazing new easel that I just bought, a Meeden easel, and I had to upgrade because I was starting to feel limited with my previous easel, which it actually goes higher than this, but the way it's designed, it's from my smaller apartment. It's great. But also, people are constantly kicking the legs and stuff. So I got this easel the other day. I did a full live stream. It took about 3.5 hours to set this easel up. And 3.5 hours, maybe almost 4, but totally worth it. It's very sturdy. Well, yeah, it's pretty sturdy. Still a little shaking there. Let me lock this stuff. I wonder why it was shaking. Let's see. It wasn't shaking when I was painting, so that's the important part. But I just want to make sure everything's locked. I have to get used to all these different locks and stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of different locks, and finding the balance between tight and not too tight. But like I already feel like I'm doing bigger and bigger paintings. Like this would fit on my other easel, but it just wouldn't fit the same way. And it feels more heavy duty. It feels more artist. Like I feel like I'm working in the studio with this. But easel, I'm still good. I love the easel, right? I'm gonna be using that easel. It's great for for multi-purpose, especially if you have if you paint on smaller canvases, get it, and maybe you're painting in a bedroom or something, and you don't have much space. Because one thing that's convenient about that easel is you have a place where you can set your palette to hold the paint, and also there's some storage in the back. Whereas now I have to work side to side, right? I have to keep my palette over to the side. If you watch my previous paintings, I usually leave it right in front of me. All of my paints and supplies are over here, as opposed to over back behind. So it's great. And also, depending on how big your space is, this goes up to, I don't remember if I got the 86-inch version or the 92-inch version as far as how big this could go. But this painting is 28 inches. So not quite 3 feet, but almost. Let's see, 28. 3 feet is 36 inches. So a little under 3 feet. But we're building this up, and we're gonna have some wonderful, wonderful paintings. So, with that, oh yeah, paints, life, paint. Go paint, people. Pick up that brush, pick up that pencil, go paint. Go make some wonderful art for somebody or yourself. But with that, we're gonna end the stream. Thank you for being here. Have a good day. Happy Independence Day.